Okay, this is going to be my first video on the David Crowley case, and probably all I should need to change your opinion of the case and prove a lot of my points. I'm not going to just speculate, I'm going to give you proof of what I'm talking about. The reason why a lot of this gets overlooked is because most of the population hasn't experienced this. So the cops don't know how to find it. The detectives and the people who are investigating the case later on don't know what it is or what to look for. So this should change your opinion of the case greatly. And how I'm going to prove it is I'm going to use my experiences over the past 10-20 years, as well as other people's experiences, to correlate and put together a scenario that may have been thought of before, but without the proof. I'm going to give you proof. David Crowley was a military veteran. He was into conspiracies. He was making a film that was, allegedly exposing the government. He was dealing with Hollywood or the music industry. Either one can get you to where I'm going. He was in combat. He and his wife were a mixed race couple. She was Middle Eastern or Arab, and he was white. He was also a gun owner and a big Second Amendment guy. Now, any of these can get you put on the radar for what I'm going to go into. But when you've got all of those things, that's the jackpot. So you are on the radar. From my experience, when you do something that can get the attention of the government, and you're in a relationship or dealing with people or dealing with subject matter that can get you on the radar of the Mossad, then it's on. In my case, I was a jackpot. And what I mean by that is, I'm into the Constitution. I'm into the Second Amendment. I'm a criticizer of hypocrisies. I'm a criticizer of supremacism, but not the supremacism that you would probably just think of right off the bat. I was a big skeptic and criticizer, still am, of 9/11. I criticized the banks, all different things, and what that equates to, and the same thing with David Crowley, is activism. Whether you're doing that online, or whether you're doing it in the three-dimensional world, or whether you're just charismatic enough to get your message across to people and have them walk away understanding, agreeing, or just cracking their mind open enough to possibly change their minds, you can become a problem. In Crowley's case, he was dealing with the film industry in Hollywood, which can put you on the radar in many ways. In my case, I was dealing with the music industry and the people in the music industry, which is the same thing. You're dealing with the same cabal of the same people, and that can be one of the things that puts you on the radar. I could go on for hours about hypotheticals of why this started, but the fact is that it did start and that it did happen. Kamel, his wife, started to hear voices, and I wish I had audio of her talking about any other voices that she had heard, but one of them that she heard was, she felt something come into the room, and then it said, and she kind of mimicked like a demon-like kind of deep voice, said, did you like the book? And what that shows is that at that time, and probably long before that, but that's when it really started to take hold, is they were both under, and the child by proxy, they were both under electromagnetic attack, and that's a fact. It happened to me. It happened to my entire family, and I can prove it to you, because what I did is I started hooking up electromagnetic microphones around the home and around my garage, different areas that I was in, and I recorded it, and I can prove it. And although at this point I can't take this and go with a lawyer and nail the people that did it, I can prove that it happened. So even the deep demon-like voice, I can actually show you one of those voices, and it's not like some squeak or a click. it's the actual voices. So without further ado, let's get started. I was working in the garage, and like Kamel, heard the deep voice say, "Did you like the story?" I came into the house to use the bathroom, and as I was walking out, I could faintly hear something. It was kind of there, and I had been recording, 24/7 around the house to pick this stuff up. So I time marked it, and I went back and I checked the recording out later, and here's the proof of what was being said in my hallway. Now you can hear my boots going boom, 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 boom across the floor. It's a hardwood floor. But behind that, you're hearing a dark, goofy, like I called it the Fat Albert demon before. It like laughs and says something. It's hard to understand what it's saying, but it's there. So check it out. Now at the end there's a cough. That's not the voice, that's the cough, but you can clearly hear it. This continued on and on and on. My whole house was vibrating, pinging. You would hear like what sounded like a crazy fax machine at night in the bedroom going just making really crazy noises. It almost sounded like there was an internet connection live in your home, and it seemed to come from the power lines as well as the air, the open air, but it was really, really coming from the power lines. So here's another sample of a tech sound that I picked up. Now check this out. It's woodpeckery. It sounds like how they describe the Russian woodpecker signal. The important thing to remember here is that your house is bugged. When this happens, you're also being surveilled, and whatever you think it is, they're going to play on that. That's the important part to remember. So there are people that could believe that it's aliens, that it's religious, that it's a ghost, that it's a demon, that it's paranormal in general, or that it's the military or tech, UFOs coming down. Whatever it is, they're going to play on it. In their case, she thought she was under spiritual attack. David thought they were under spiritual attack. So what would be the best angle for them, the attackers, to use? What would I do? David was in combat, and he had shot people. I would be the ghost of a dead Arab soldier, and I would begin to haunt them, to drive him crazy, to drive him to do something that he wouldn't normally do, to try to discredit him, to try to get him put in jail, or try to get him put in a mental institution. That's what I would do if I was attacking somebody. So let's check out one more of these, and I'll go further. Here's another voice. And let's do a few more while we're at it. I've got hundreds of hours of this stuff. It runs 24/7, 365. It was like on it back then. Okay, that was a monotone voice, like somebody blowing into a bottle. Now let's try the spooky female voice that was in our bedroom one night. This is good. Check it out. Now that particular voice goes on for about 2 hours, but I'm just giving you clips. At the end of this, I'll put a bunch of them up so you can just hear them as evidence. And if you want, you can take them and put them into your audio programs yourself and analyze them yourself. I've been doing audio for 20 some years, recording bands, recording myself, making music. Getting these was so satisfying because you're not supposed to be able to pick it up. But I'm telling you, when you are getting attacked with this stuff, it seeps into every electronic in your home. Everything. I don't care if it's a wireless phone, a Sony Handycam, a tape recorder, on and on. It seeps into everything. Whether it's analog or digital, whatever, it gets in there. So do you realize when you hear this that it sounds a lot different than when when it picks up in the room and it's vibrating and everything? It doesn't have a source. It just seems to emanate in the air. And when that happens, it's so easy for someone to think right off the bat that it would be paranormal and or demonic or religious, or in fact they supposedly used this in the first Iraqi war to get the Iraqis to surrender, and the Iraqis surrendered in record numbers. They didn't have enough zip ties to chain them all up. They said it was the voice of Allah, and told them to lay down their guns. They used this back in '91. So this has been around for a long time. It is used all the time. It is used on people, unless you're recording audio or video, and thank God that Crowley did, because I bet I can go through it and pick up all kinds of evidence in it. Unless you're using audio or video, it really doesn't leave a whole lot of evidence, and it has an effect on your personality as well when you're getting hit with this. It's like your dopamines are being jacked with different things. Your brain's being fucked. It's electromagnetic energy. It's hardcore. I remember heating up my coffee during that period, and the microwave would create it would cause the sound to emanate through the house just big time, like it was like the whole house was a speaker. So if any of you have quiet, it can't be like music jamming out, but quiet, relatively quiet audio or video of Crowley during this period, and or his wife, please get it to me. I'll put my email down in the description, and if you can get it to me, I can analyze it, and I can pull out or bring up signals that are harder to hear if there's regular normal talking going on in the room or room noise. I can push this stuff up, push the room noise down, and there you go. Now you can see why the cops, they don't know what to do with this. This is reported to the police all the time by people, and the police just don't know what to do. A lot of the times, the person will go to the hospital and say, my God, I'm at home and I'm hearing voices, and they fucking put them on medication. And the people are clearly not schizophrenic. You can, if you've ever been around a schizophrenic, they lose their sense of humor, they lose their sense of identity, they're suspicious of everyone. They'll think that their wife or their brother is trying to kill them, and at the same time their personality just isn't there anymore. And what I mean when I say that, I mean that it is to the extent where they're alarming and scary to be around. They're not these people that are just laughing and talking and then one day just snap. People do not just snap. That's a myth that they have been perpetuating since the early 1980s, and if that happens, either the person has been driven to snap by something, or they had something that for a long time they had something wrong that they were hiding. But people aren't that good at hiding that kind of stuff. There's usually lots of signs. They've become withdrawn, their personality changes.